Hey, I'm Sarah Glover. I'm a chef and an outdoor enthusiast, and I'm a part of the Brio Pro team. Today, I'm going to teach you guys a recipe using gator meat. I'm from the land down under, so I'm pretty excited because some buddies of mine went out gator hunting, and the exchange was they gave me meat so I would cook them something, and I'm going to show you what I cooked them. I have got my 30-inch X series with the sear plate. I've had my wood burning for about 1 hour now. Now you always want to let your brio cook down for about an hour or so because you want to get that lovely radiant heat to cook with. And we need to obviously heat up our sear plate because I'm going to be searing the gator on the sides of this. So with my gator meat, I am going to do a smoked garlic aioli. So step one is to get a whole bulb of garlic and a little bit of aluminium foil. Or as you guys say, aluminum, is that right? I think so. I'm from the land down under, so you know, we pronounce everything different down there. We're just gonna simply throw it in. We're gonna wrap it up nice and tight. What's gonna happen is the garlic's gonna cook and it's gonna caramelize, and we're gonna smash it through some mayonnaise. Now typically I would probably throw this directly into the coals, but to start with, because this fire's only been going for about 45 minutes, I'm just going to throw it up here on the outpost. And we're going to jump over here and start making the marinade. One thing I found here in Florida is that they do this thing called blackened fish, and they simply just make like a bit of a seasoning rub, and they put it on their fish and they sear it on the side. So this is my version of blackened gator. I've got some smoked paprika, probably about like a teaspoon. I also never measure anything because, you know, I'm not that kind of chef. I have got some coconut sugar. You can also use palm sugar if you can find it at your local Asian grocer. Probably another 2 teaspoons in there. I've got some smoked sea salt, but you can use just plain. I really love the flaked style. The flavor in it is a lot more neutral. It's not quite as like super salty. It's got just a lovely soft minerally flavor to it. I've got a chili here that I started chopping earlier, so a red chili. You can go as hot as you want. Some people like real spicy, other people don't. Mind you, it is gonna burn down a little bit as we sear it, so you probably be a little bit more heavy-handed. It just depends on how long you actually marinate your gator meat for. I am going to marinate this for about a minimum of an hour. You can also do it overnight. So obviously if you do marinate it overnight, it's going to get extra hot. So bear that in mind with how much chili you're throwing in, and if there's kitties that are going to be eating this. So just a rough chop on our chili into a bowl. Another thing I really love is ginger. So in my trusty compartment in here, this is Harriet, by the way, and I bought her all the way over from Australia, and specifically I am from the island of Tasmania. We're gonna grate a bit of ginger. Oh, that broke up. So pretty much can't get much further than next stop from Tasmania is Antarctica. Yes, you can pull the map out. So this is what we call a microplane or a grater. I'm going to microplane a good teaspoon of ginger into there. Gator meat, it kind of tastes a little bit like chicken/fish. So if you don't have gator meat and you're keen to try this, you totally can use any fish that you've caught, or you've picked up at the local manga, or you could do chicken. This is just something I came up with for the gator. So I've got some oregano, a little bit of thyme. I always use fresh herbs too. So if you don't have fresh herbs, you should be able to find them at your local farmers markets, or you and your kids, or if you're just in an apartment, why not start a pot off your balcony and grow a few. It's always so annoying when you like buy a big bunch and then you can't quite get through them all, particularly with some of these herbs like thyme and oregano. Okay, and I've also got some flat leaf parsley. So you get flat or curly. I like the flat because the flavor isn't as like strong. The Italian style, which is like the curly one, has quite like a really strong parsley flavor. This tends to be a little bit more mellow. So just going to do a nice little rough chop on this. I guess if you're doing this at home and you're not outside in the wild with a Land Rover Defender from Tasmania, you could just throw this in a food processor too. Give it a little blitz. So we've got a bit of a rough chop on our greens in here, so our nice herbs. We're going to toss them in our bowl, which is looking pretty. I'm all about lots of colours and aroma. I've also got like a torpedo or shallot. I'm going to just probably use half of it. This is really just for flavour, so particularly that's where I was saying you need that minimum 1 hour marinating time on it, because this isn't necessarily going to come out in your finished product because you're basting it all in this, and as it fries you're going to lose some of the onion, but hopefully it's marinated long enough that that flavour is like penetrated into the meat. And I know you guys are all excited to see what gator meat looks like. Unfortunately, I didn't get to make it on this hunt, but I'm super keen because the season's still open here. So I'm hoping I get to go on a gator hunt. And I've got like a dream to asado, like a whole gator on the fire. How rad would that be? Throwing it out there, guys. Gator party. This one's really fun because the gator meat's actually cubed. So the idea is as we sear it on the plate, it's like a bit of an appetizer. So is that what you call your first ones here? I think it's appetizers. I get confused. You guys call things all different. We call it entrees and mains is what we say in Australia. So I think your appetizers and then entrees, which is weird. Anyway, rough chop on this guy. It's another fun fact I can tell you. These ones tend to be a little sweeter than like say like a white onion or a red onion. I've got some grapeseed oil because I want a neutral flavour with my oil, but I want to cover the meat in some sort of oil so that I can pop it straight onto the sear plate. But I don't want anything like an extra virgin olive oil, just being that that gator meat is super delicate. So here is our concoction. So I probably put about a quarter, maybe a third of a cup of grapeseed oil in there. So I didn't go crazy on it because I just want to coat the gator meat. Oh, I'm just getting choked by my hand. I just want to coat the gator meat in this, and then I'm actually going to put some ghee on the outside of my grill plate to add that really lovely like buttery flavour. And those of you who don't know what ghee is, it is clarified butter. So it's where you remove the milk solids from the butter and you're left with an oil which has a high smoke point, which is perfect for our brio. All right, so here it is. So here is our delicious gator meat. Now the boys had already diced it for me. You can see that it does look very much a bit like fish slash chicken. So you've got all that silver that's running through that. So the boys love to fry this, like deep fry it, because we're in the south, so everything's deep fried here. Me, I'm not like a huge fan of deep frying everything, and I really love to be able to taste the actual flavour of the meat. So that's why I decided to do a blackened version of it. Mix it up a little bit. So toss all your meat in, the cubes, and this is why this is quite nice, like to have, we sear it around the plate and your friends can just jump in and eat it straight away with like a toothpick, or, you know, find a twig in the bush. You say bush here? You say forest. All right, so we're just gonna get in there with our hands, and we really want to massage that into our meat. Make sure it's all coated. Lovely. The reason I put sugar in there is that it does help to caramelize it when it cooks. Now gator meat doesn't really have any fat in it, so you're not going to get a lot of caramelization from it. So adding that little bit of brown sugar, coconut sugar or brown sugar or palm sugar is going to give it that lovely caramelized coloring and flavor on the outside. All right, so it's nice and mixed in now. You can see that. It's already looking pretty delicious. I'm going to put this back into a Ziploc bag, throw it in the freezer in the truck, and give it a minimum of an hour, and then we're going to sear it. So I've had the garlic roasting just on the outpost over the fire. It's probably been there for 45 minutes. The way I kind of would tell is it's going to obviously be very hot because it's been by the fire, but I would grab it with either like a tea towel, I think you call them tea towel, or what do you call them, paper towels or something, and you just want to squeeze the side of it and you'll feel the garlic start to soften. You can also smell it. It will smell like sweet roasted garlic. So here is our garlic bulb. It did get a little crispy, but that's fine. And it's nice and smushy. You want to pull it off and let it basically sweat in the aluminium foil for about 15 minutes minimum to up to an hour, really. Doesn't matter. This is going to be our base flavor for our garlic aioli. And the reason you want to cook it, like I said, is it gets rid of that real pepperiness. It will also get rid of that strong garlic flavor that you can get in your mouth. And I'm just going to mash it with my fork. This is a Cheats garlic aioli. You can make a straight up aioli, which is like eggs, oil, mustard and vinegar. But me, I'm out here in the wild, ain't got no blender and cannot be bothered to do it by hand. Bought a trusty jar from the local, we call them supermarkets. I don't know what you guys call them. Look at general store or grocery stores. A couple of forkfuls of trusty mayonnaise. I decided to go for a vegan version because we're cooking gator meat. That makes no sense whatsoever. I just think I like this brand. Okay, so we have got about half a cup of mayonnaise. We're going to throw in our mashed up garlic. I'm also going to put in some lemon rind, which is just using again the mandolin, or microplane, sorry, to just get some of that rind off for flavor. The reason you probably will go for the rind of it over the juices is the juice is going to obviously add a liquid to it and make it start to become a lot more runny. It could also affect our emulsification of our mayonnaise. So I'm going to give that a nice mix. And you do want to let this stand for, again, a minimum of an hour because all that lovely garlic flavour, you want it to go into the mayonnaise. A little pinch of salt for good times. You can give it a nice mix. You can see all that lovely sort of texture, which is that garlic in there. Give that a nice stir. And then you just pop that in the fridge for an hour. I do have a fridge in Harriet too, so I'm going to pop her in there. And then, yum. A little bit more of this. So that's nearly a whole lemon to half a cup. I'm going to be a daredevil and just put, I love citrus. I love citrus, particularly with seafood. I'm just going to throw in a tiny bit. Not too much, just enough. Thin it out a tiny bit. Let's give it a little, oh, yep, delicious. Very like smoky, caramelized garlic with a nice little punch of lemon zest in there. That's going to be so good with that gator. So the gator meat's been marinating for about an hour. You can see it's taken on the colouring of the paprika and all those lovely herbs. The flavour should be in there. I'm also going to just slice up some lemon cheeks. I like to wedge mine like this. Just, it kind of looks pretty. And then you're left with the core that you can use for other things in your kitchen. So just pop that to the side. Got a couple of wedges of lemon, and then we've got our beautiful aioli. We're going to fry some gator meat. Got my tongs. Also have this trusty little tool here, which is like a paint scraper. Very handy for cooking on these rims. I love the outpost, so sometimes if I'm not cooking on it, I'll use it as my little prep table, which is super handy. I've got my clarified butter here. Obviously be careful whenever you're adding an oil onto the plate because it's going to drain into the fire and create more flame. But what I want to do is just coat the outside of this in a little bit of oil. And that's very hot because it's burning, but that's okay. It's a bit like a, even for those like Japanese houses where you like cook on the hibachis, a bit like one of those. I don't know what they're called. So I'm just going to pop my gator meat on here. See that lovely sear. This is fun, like I said, to do as like an appetizer with your friends, because you can literally feed them straight from the grill plate. A little bit more. And this doesn't need very long, so I'm going to start to turn it. You can see that lovely caramelization from the coconut sugar starting to form on our gator meat. The smell is insane. Looking beautiful. So we just want to sear it. The thing with like seafood is you don't really necessarily need to cook it all the way through. You don't want it to go dry. And the other thing is you want to pull it up at the right time so that when it's on the plate, it will still keep cooking because it's got all that residual heat in it. So you want to make sure that you don't cook it all the way through while it's on the grill plate, because it's going to hold that little bit of heat. Okay, so I'm really happy with how this gator meat is looking. It's got beautiful coloring on it. I can already tell that it's not cooked all the way through. You can just, even by touching it, it's got like a nice little bit of a bounce to it. So I'm going to pop this on my plate. I've just put some lemon wedges and the smoked garlic aioli on here. I'm going to pop it on this plate. I'm going to call all my buddies over. Get them to try. Should we fool them and tell them it's chicken? All right, so here is our smoked garlic aioli with blackened gator tail.